Kenya, and we are here to dissect everything. And let's start. According to your view, do you think learning institutions in Kenya nurture and support talents?
Yes and no. Most of them are trying. You look at the schools. Schools are doing so well in so far as development of sports is concerned. Look, for example, the secondary school games. You look at the massive talent that is there. So that platform is there. The system is there. The effectiveness, we can talk about it, whether it's working so effectively. But the learning institutions are trying.
Now that you've said yes and no. Okay, now that you've said no, what should the government and other relevant agencies do in order to nurture those talents?
You know, it's not about the government alone. The government can only do so much. It's a responsibility that everyone has in the society, from home. Because you remember, someone is talented,
Sure.
but maybe the opportunity is not given from home by the parent. Unatoka pale unaenda kucheza mpira, your mother tells you that don't do that in my house. So from there, the parents will first understand that you can do something outside the classroom. Talent is there. So what is there, let then government avail funds to support sports as well as the same way they are supporting these other things. So create time for this. Let's have time for sports as well, as be recognized by government as area of study in schools.
So in other words, you simply means that nurturing talents is all about individual responsibility and collective responsibility.
Yes, we cannot put the blame on one person because everyone has a role to play here.
Okay, now that you've also said about the government should set aside sport as an activity. In other words, now you're saying that the education system is not supporting those talents.
Yes, you know, like for example, the 844 system.
Yeah.
It works in a way that it's what you do in class that is more important. That's why in the curriculum it's written as co-curricular activities. It's not the main curriculum. It's just an extra activity that you do outside of the main thing that you're expected to do. But otherwise, if the system was in a way that it supports everything, it incorporates everything, both the practical and the non-practical aspects, then it takes care of people who are otherwise talented elsewhere than those who are mentally sharp in class. So everyone is taken care of.
Okay, right away. What is the general state of sports in Kenya, especially the KPL?
Wow, the KPL is something else. You know, Kenyans say that it's one of the best leagues in Africa. It's very disputable. It depends from what angle you look at it. But it's not a very bad league, I would say. The league is good. You look at the quality of players that we've got, the quality of the coaches that come to our league, it is a good league. But there are drawbacks to its effectiveness. You know, football is not about going to the pitch and kicking the ball. Professor Wenger used to say that football is not about the match day where you go for 90 minutes. It's a long process. The psychological state of the player, the financial things, so much. In that regards, I would say that we are in a very bad state in the KPL.
Okay, now that you've said we are in a very bad state.
Yeah.
Okay, a few weeks ago we've seen some matches were even abandoned because some things didn't show up and others were given walkovers.
Yes.
So in other words, should this season, that is 2019-2020, be suspended?
It's suspending a league is a very tough call.
Sure.
That would be a very tough call to suspend the league, because if you do suspend the league, then that will indict the league managers and those who are in charge of the league. There are teams which have given walkovers. So Nishuga did give 2 walkovers. Chemelil Sugar also gave a walkover against Bandari. They never traveled to Mombasa for the match. So, you know, the rule of FIFA is if a team does not honor 3 league matches, they are withdrawn from the league. So I think what we should do, if the team are not financially stable enough to be in the league, then let them not participate. Because the other teams, we are sufficiently prepared. A team like Wazito, they can sustain themselves through the league. So when you suspend the league, what is their fate? You should be working for the teams which doesn't have money, but there's someone who meets all the conditions in the CAF licensing to participate in the league. So suspending the league, you'll be doing it against the person who otherwise fails to be in the league.
Okay, in addition to that, there have been several speculations that some players or some clubs, which I won't mention, have been sabotaging the matches because they are not being paid well. Should you also say that remuneration population is also another factor which is troubling the Kenya Premier League.
You call it sabotage. I don't see it sabotage. You know, Fred,
Yeah, sure.
you work for someone to pay you. Going to play football is their career.
Sure.
So when I don't report to work when I've not been paid for 3 months, you don't call that sabotage. Otherwise, there's no effect. There's nothing I bring home to show to my family that this is the work I do.
This is
My
my
work is to
career.
play football.
This is my career.
Then what do we get out of it? You know, what I get from play is money. Like yesterday, for example, Gor played against Madari.
Sure.
Yeah? On Tuesday, they never trained. Why? They've not been paid salaries. So the players are not on the wrong.
Sure.
Maybe in this case, we were blaming the wrong person. We cannot blame the player in this case.
Because at the end of the day, you must bring something to the table and tell your family, now that my career is football,
Yes.
this is what I'm getting. This is what I'm getting from you.
Yeah.
There have been a very big elephant in the room as far as sports is concerned. That is the closure of major betting firms in Kenya. That is Betin and SportPesa.
Yeah.
Can we say that now this closure has affected the Kenya Premier League?
No, personally, I've been very much against betting. And at no point have I ever supported the existence of the betting firms here in Kenya.
Sure.
These firms are less than 5 years in football. 10 years, 15 years ago, we didn't have betting firms.
Now that you say they are less than 5 years in football.
Yes.
Okay, now that we've seen their departure has made some teams to be financially constrained. So with that eye, will I be right if I say these betting firms were to some extent supporting the Kenya Premier League? Because those betting firms, especially SportPesa, was sponsoring some teams like Gor Mahia, FC Leopards.
Yes.
So can I say that now their departure or their exit from the market has paralyzed the operation of those teams?
Yes, in the short term, yes.
Sure.
But it's a manifestation of a long-term problem that we have in our system. There's a time we had sponsors, Tusker was here, we had Supersport before, we've got Kenya Power at some point was in the league, we've got Crown Paints who were in the league before. So these things have been there. I think what happened was that when betting firms came, it was something that most people began to relate to it. Right?
And
Because people would bet. So it's something that people had vested interest in. So when they withdrew, the effect is large scale.
Yeah.
It's not as small that the club only that suffers. There are many other people who used to work there, either at the secretariat, and those who used to bet. So you know that the effect is a bit large scale than if it was any other corporate entity that was in sport.
So in short, you're saying now the exit of those betting firms had a far-reaching effect to an extent that it affected other clubs. That is what you're saying in other words, but not specifically sports in Kenya. You're just saying that the betting itself had taken a large control over the population.
Yes.
So now when it exited the market, it had a very big effect on everyone.
Yes, it caused some over an economic turmoil of some sort. Yeah, in so far as sports is concerned. But otherwise, a country will never develop if we want to depend on sponsorships, especially, for example, in betting firms. Do you think in the next 5 years, 10 years, people will be betting?
I don't think.
They would eventually end. Would we say if they end, sports die?
No.
We shouldn't. So it's our responsibility, as I said earlier. It's everyone's responsibility, right, to develop sport. Like, for example, yesterday, there's a club in Tunisia called Club Africain. It's one of the top clubs in Tunisia. It's a community club. There has been issues around the financing of the club. It had no money. The funds came out and in one night contributed $450,000.
Okay.
So we tell you, it's not who sponsors, it's not the government or the corporates, even the funds. What are they doing to ensure that sports does so well in Kenya?
Okay, all right. Okay, and also to progress, do you think Kenyan football is represented continentally? That is CAF Champions League, CAF Confederations Cup. But in your view, do you think our football, our local football, that is KPL, is it represented continentally according to your view?
We've got a representation, yes, but not the very best that we could get. But also it's the very best because who represents us for CAF Champions League is the league champion who goes there. for Confederation Cup
Okay, wait.
is the winner of the domestic title. So they are the two best clubs locally that present us continentally.
Okay, now that you've said the ones who will go to the CAF Champions League are the winners of the league,
Yes.
does that now manifest itself in those matches? Okay, in as much as now you go to the league as the winners,
Yes.
do you play in that competition as winners, or you just play to retain that prize that we play in the CAF Champions League?
Somewhat, our qualities still low. You look at our teams play against our opponents. Gor play against DC Motema Pembe, and you could see there's a difference in tactics, techniques of the game. There's something that we are way below the others. So there's something which is not still right to us. We've got some work to do so that we get to compete at that level. But it's not as bad. You remember last season, Gor Mahia almost got to the quarters of conference.
In the Ministry of Sports, and so how these players are being mishandled, can we say that now representing Kenya is becoming a burden to the athletes? Can we say that?
I personally would not say that that is a burden. I think it's the pride that you've got to represent your country. But sometimes they say that patriotism doesn't pay rent. They will not foot your bills.
You know, I want to say it's a burden because
Yeah.
when you represent Kenya, maybe in athletes, in any sporting activity, basketball, handball, you know, there is that mentality from the villages, people back in the village, this guy is representing us and they expect much from him. But now, upon reaching there, we're being mishandled by the government. We've even seen major scandals to an extent that players are being forced to sleep in other hotels, such things. So that's why I want to say that it's becoming a burden. But or else, I'll need your clarification of that. Will I be right if I say it's
No,
becoming a
for
burden?
me, the issue that I've got with the government is in their communication. That is where the problem stems from. Because you realize that government more often than not does not communicate to the people of what is going on. Even that is the issue with the sport funds. Yeah, that is the problem that now Piers Kaberia, who is the principal secretary in the Ministry of Sports, is going through, because he does not communicate so effectively about how this fund is supposed to work, the processes through which the federations need to follow so that they get funding. So if that communication is done so well, and he programs that this is how it happen, like yesterday he said that all the federations which will need funding from the sports fund have up to 31st of December this year to make their request and the budgets to the sports fund. So next year in January, if you apply, you are not going to get the money, right? It's, you have up to 31st of December of this year to make your budgets with them, right? Because also you want to see how the financial year runs and other operations of the government, right? And that is the so even when the sports fund was created, the communication that was given by the government was that that fund was specially made for the purposes of sports development. But that is not what is happening. We remember during the budget, some of the money was taken to the Ministry of Health for the universal health care.
Sure.
So if this could have been communicated so well, so that we know
Some
the government
funds,
also have things, other things that run, it's not only sports. So if they communicate so well, and the federations know, and they also adhere to the rules, you know, this is government. You cannot apply for money to be in government and get it tomorrow. Yeah, there are bureaucracies that we've got to go through. You've got to account for the previous amounts that you have been given. Otherwise, you cannot continue giving money when you first don't see the value for the money you give, and two, when the money cannot be accounted for the relevant federations that the money has been dispersed to. So it's a whole process that needs a bit of clarity, and if we follow it to the latter and it fails, then we can cry.
Okay, all right. Do you see Kenyan football in the next 10 years, according to your view? The next 10 years.
Projecting this thing would be difficult, but I would look at it, where were we 10 years ago, so that I'd be able to see where would we, if possibly, would have made us a step further.
Okay, now that you said you look at it where you were 10 years ago.
Yes.
What if you look at it by comparing ourselves with our neighbors, or with our rivals, not specifically our neighbors?
You know, sometimes we do so well, sometimes we do too badly.
So we lack consistency in other words.
As what I said, we are not so very consistent in the things we do. If we would have been very consistent, I think it could be very easy to project where the sport would be.
Wrap it up at FTV. I've been your host Frederick Patsayo, and my counterpart has been
Because Wodnya City mwenyewe.